It's 3 in the morning. The room is dark, the house is quiet, and your body is exhausted. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, your brain decides right now is the perfect moment to replay that thing you said at a party 4 years ago. You can feel your face flush in the dark. You pull the covers over your head as if that will help. It doesn't. Why does this keep happening? Why does your own mind seem to want to humiliate you, specifically when you're most vulnerable? The answer involves some of the deepest architecture of your brain. And it turns out the reason you cringe at 3 in the morning isn't a flaw. It's actually a feature. A very ancient, very well-intentioned feature that has gone slightly haywire in the modern world. But to understand why, we need to start with something most people don't realize about memory itself. Most of us think of memory like a video library, a storage room where the brain files footage of things that happened. But that's almost completely wrong. Memory is not a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, your brain is actively rebuilding it from fragments, more like a sculptor than a camera. And here's the crucial part. Not all memories are stored with equal priority. The brain has a filing system, and emotion is what determines what goes on the top shelf. Deep inside your brain sits a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It's one of the oldest parts of the brain evolutionarily, and its entire job is to monitor your experience for emotional significance, particularly threat. When something happens that triggers strong emotion, especially fear or social pain, the amygdala essentially stamps that memory. This one matters, don't lose it. It signals the hippocampus to consolidate that experience more deeply than ordinary ones. Think about why this system evolved. For most of human history, social rejection wasn't just embarrassing, it was life-threatening. If your tribe cast you out, you died. Alone on the savannah, you didn't last long. So the brain learned to treat social humiliation with the same neurological seriousness as a near miss with a predator. That awkward moment when you mispronounced a word in front of everyone, your amygdala filed that right next to dangerous situation, do not repeat. Now here's where 3 in the morning comes in. During the day, your brain is busy. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational, executive part of you, is online, managing attention, suppressing irrelevant thoughts, keeping you focused on whatever's in front of you. That cringeworthy memory might try to surface during the day, but the prefrontal cortex acts like a busy librarian who says, "Not now, I'm working." It pushes the thought aside. But at night, that librarian clocks out. As you approach sleep, your prefrontal cortex significantly reduces its activity. The executive functions that normally act as gatekeepers, suppressing intrusive thoughts, regulating emotional responses, maintaining rational perspective, they start to wind down. And in that quiet, with the rational guard lowered, the emotionally tagged memories that the amygdala marked as important don't have anything filtering them anymore. They surface, loudly, and they feel completely unmanageable because the part of your brain that would normally contextualize them is half asleep. But that's still only part of the picture, because this doesn't explain why the memory feels so vivid, so visceral, so present, almost like it's happening again right now. That's because of something called reconsolidation. Every time a memory is retrieved, it becomes temporarily unstable. It gets edited slightly before being restored. And at night, without rational dampening, the emotional coloring gets intensified. The cringe you feel replaying it at 3 a.m. is actually stronger than what you felt in the moment. You're not remembering it accurately. You're experiencing an amplified remix. Researchers studying memory reconsolidation have found that each retrieval of an emotional memory re-exposes it to emotional reprocessing. So when you lie awake cringing at something from years ago, you're not just remembering it, you're potentially reinforcing it. Your brain is essentially saying, this happened, it mattered, file it even deeper. The very act of replaying it might be making it stickier, which raises a very uncomfortable question. Does trying to suppress it make it worse? Yes. And psychologists have a name for exactly this phenomenon, the ironic process theory, famously demonstrated by Daniel Wegner in the 1980s. When you tell your brain, don't think about that embarrassing thing, you're actually creating a monitoring process that has to actively search for that thought to confirm you're not thinking it, which means you inevitably think it more. At night, with cognitive resources depleted, this monitoring process becomes especially backfire-prone. Trying to push the memory away can paradoxically drag it back to the surface every 30 seconds. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Your brain isn't just replaying these memories for no reason. It's actually trying to do something useful with them. During sleep and the period just before it, your brain enters a state dominated by theta waves, slow, rhythmic oscillations associated with emotional memory processing. This is when the brain attempts to do what neuroscientists call affective memory consolidation. Essentially, it's trying to integrate emotional experiences, extract lessons, and reduce their emotional charge over time. The problem is that this process works much better during actual sleep than during the half-awake 3 a.m. spiral. When you fall fully into REM sleep, the brain processes emotional memories in a neurochemical environment that's low in norepinephrine, the stress chemical. This actually helps defang emotional memories over time, but when you're lying awake churning through the memory instead of sleeping through it, you get the replay without the repair. You experience the emotion without the emotional processing that would actually help. The workshop is open, but the mechanic can't quite finish the job. This is actually one of the reasons sleep deprivation has such a profound effect on emotional well-being. Studies consistently show that people who are sleep deprived show significantly heightened amygdala reactivity. The emotional threat detection system goes into overdrive when the brain is under-rested, which creates a vicious cycle. The 3 a.m. memory spiral keeps you from sleeping. The lost sleep makes your amygdala more reactive, which makes emotional memories more intrusive the next night. But here's the twist that reframes everything. And this is the part most people never hear. The specific memories your brain chooses to replay at 3 a.m. are not random. They follow a very particular pattern. They are almost always memories involving moments where your social self-image was threatened. Not physical danger, not professional failure and isolation. Specifically, moments where you felt seen in a way you didn't want to be seen. And that selection criteria tells us something profound about what the brain is actually doing. Human beings are intensely social animals, and the brain dedicates enormous resources to what researchers call social monitoring, constantly tracking how we appear to others, predicting their judgments, managing our reputation within groups. The default mode network, which becomes very active when your mind wanders, is deeply involved in social cognition, simulating other people's perspectives, imagining how you're perceived. At night, with external input gone and attention turned inward, this network runs largely unchecked, and it gravitates toward unresolved social threat, those moments where the social math didn't add up. Here's what's genuinely fascinating about this. There's a compelling argument that your brain is actually trying to learn from these moments, doing a kind of social post-mortem. It's running simulations. What should I have said? How could I have handled that differently? How do I prevent this from happening again? From an evolutionary perspective, this is incredibly valuable behavior. The brain is rehearsing better social responses so you don't make the same mistake with your tribe again. The cruel irony is that this useful process feels absolutely terrible when it's happening. In fact, some researchers think the emotional intensity is not a bug, but a deliberate feature. The cringe, the flush of shame, the visceral discomfort, that emotional charge is what makes the lesson stick. A neutral memory of an awkward moment wouldn't motivate behavioral change. But a memory that makes you want to disappear into your mattress? That one you remember. That one shapes how you act next time. Your brain is using discomfort as a teaching tool, which is a generous interpretation of why you're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. And here's the additional layer that makes this even more human. The memories that haunt us most are almost never the ones where we failed at something private. They're the ones that happened in front of people. Dropping a tray in a cafeteria alone would be annoying. Dropping it in front of a crowd becomes a memory that visits you at 3 a.m. for a decade. The audience, real or imagined, is what activates the amygdala's social threat response. It's not about the event. It's about the witness to the event. There's a concept in psychology called the spotlight effect. The well-documented tendency to dramatically overestimate how much other people notice and remember our mistakes. The truth, confirmed across multiple studies, is that almost no one remembers your awkward moment as vividly as you do. They were busy thinking about their own moment. But your brain doesn't know that. It treats the social threat as if the whole room has devoted their memory storage to your stumble. And so it keeps reviewing, keeps processing, keeps trying to solve a problem that in many cases has already been forgotten by everyone else involved. Which brings us to one of the most important insights from this whole picture. The 3 a.m. mind is holding trials for crimes that were resolved years ago. It is a court still in session for a case the world has already closed, and the prosecution, your amygdala, your default mode network, your social threat monitoring system, never got the memo that the danger passed. It is still, faithfully, embarrassingly, doing its job of protecting you from social exile, even when there is no exile coming. So what can you actually do with all of this? Because understanding the mechanism is interesting, but you still have to live in the body that does it. One approach that has genuine research support is something called cognitive diffusion, a technique from acceptance and commitment therapy. Instead of arguing with the memory or trying to suppress it, you practice observing it with distance. My brain is running its social threat script right now. That's what brains do. You name what's happening rather than becoming it. The memory loses some of its gravity when you're watching it rather than living inside it. Another approach backed by research is expressive writing, actually writing out the embarrassing memory in detail, including how it made you feel. Then writing a compassionate reframing of it. This engages the prefrontal cortex deliberately, bringing executive processing back online to help complete the emotional integration your brain was trying to do anyway. You're essentially helping the mechanic finish the job. Some people find this dramatically reduces how often the memory resurfaces. Others write and then literally close the notebook, a physical signal to the brain that the case is now closed. And perhaps the most counterintuitive intervention, prioritizing sleep itself. Because remember, the full emotional processing that actually reduces the power of these memories happens during REM sleep, in that low norepinephrine environment where the brain can work on them without the stress chemical. Consistently getting quality sleep doesn't just improve your mood the next day. Over time, it actually helps the brain do the job it was trying to do at 3 a.m. Integrate, process, and reduce the emotional charge on memories that no longer serve you. Sleep is, quite literally, therapy. Here's what all of this ultimately tells us. Your brain is not cruel. It is not broken. It is not trying to humiliate you in the small hours of the night. It is doing something ancient, and in its own awkward way, deeply caring. It is trying to protect your place among the people you belong to. It is doing maintenance on your social self, running simulations, processing threats, trying to make you better. The 3 a.m. spiral is a symptom of a brain that cares, perhaps too much, about whether you are safe and loved and accepted. That's a very human thing to be doing at 3 in the morning, and you are not alone in this. Right now, somewhere in the city outside your window, and in every city in the world, other people are lying awake, cringing at something that happened years ago. Their brains are doing the exact same thing yours is. The same ancient circuitry, the same social threat processing, the same futile prosecution of closed cases. There is something genuinely comforting about that. The universality of it, the awkward, insomniac humanity of it. We are all, in our own dark rooms, being protected from exile by a brain that hasn't quite caught up to the fact that we're safe. So the next time it happens, and it will happen, try to remember what you now know. That the memory surfaced because it mattered to you. That the emotional intensity is the brain teaching, not punishing. That the very fact it bothers you means you care about how you treat people. And that somewhere right now, the person who witnessed your most embarrassing moment has completely forgotten it ever happened. Your brain is the only one still keeping the lights on in that courtroom. And you, if you choose, can be the judge who finally adjourns. Which leaves you with one final question worth sitting with. If your brain replays your social failures to protect you and improve you, what does it mean that the things it chooses to replay are the moments you cared most about? Every cringeworthy memory is also a map of what mattered to you, a record of where you wanted to belong, who you wanted to be seen by, what you were afraid of losing. So maybe the real question isn't, Why does your brain torture you at 3 a.m.? Maybe it's, what is your brain in all its clumsy caring urgency actually trying to tell you about yourself?